You are Locked On Tigers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, 10-2 in their last 12 games sounds pretty good, and 4 straight series wins for the Tigers as they get it done this afternoon north of the border at the Rogers Center in Toronto. How about that? Welcome into a live edition of the Locked On Tigers Postcast. I am your host, Jake Rietma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. And this is your friendly reminder to subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. We're covering everything, and this is your destination for Tigers Postcast, and all parts of the Locked On Tigers network. And reminder, it's free. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, on YouTube, it's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And thanks as always for making us your destination post-game after the final out. And how about a huge thank you to today's presenting sponsor, making the show possible. That's right. Locked On Tigers Postcast is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. And I tell you what, the Tigers are fans of Toronto and playing in the city of, what's the nickname for Toronto? Somebody help me out. But fired up as always to have everybody tuning in. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. And let's break this one down. Timely hitting, a 7-3 win. Now, some potential unfortunate news. I don't think we know enough yet to really deem it positive, negative, or anything else. But the fact of the matter is, Reese Olson left after 30 pitches with shoulder soreness after he induced another inning-ending double play in the home half of the second. You could see him, and there was a couple of really good shots on the broadcast of him kind of not necessarily wincing in pain, but you could just tell something wasn't right with that shoulder. So he exits the game, shoulder soreness, and credit to Alex Faedo, because at this point it's a 0-0 game, and 2 innings in the books from your starter, it essentially becomes a bullpen day. And Alex Faedo was excellent in 2 innings. He gets the win. He's 5-1 now, but 2 innings, just 1 hit allowed, did not allow an earned run, struck out 3, and did not walk any batters. So Alex Faedo in this game, with it being 0-0, Reese Olson leaving early, he took this opportunity, put his best foot forward, and gave his team a chance to win. And you know what else helps? Well, when you go yard in a big way and hit a grand slam, and that's exactly what Jake Rogers did in the top of the 6th, part of a 6-run inning for the Tigers. They broke this one wide open. And I should back up. I should have started with this as we do our little game summary here. But the first run of the game in the top of the 5th, this is where, you know what? I love when I'm wrong. And fortunately, this time around, I did not take to Twitter to voice my displeasure with the Tigers' initial lineup, where you have Riley Green and Colt Keith out of the lineup. And I know the lefty matchup is not good with the starter, and this is exactly what we went through the last time the Tigers faced Kikuchi on that Sunday at Comerica Park when they actually won that game 14-11. I learned my lesson. Never question A.J. Hinch, the smartest man in baseball, and this time around he was absolutely correct to have Andy Ibanez in the leadoff spot playing second base. We know he feasts on lefties. 2 more hits today, including that RBI triple that began the scoring for the Tigers in the 5th inning. And credit to the left fielder Ryan Valade that got the single with 2 outs there, because it was a rally that was orchestrated with nothing going, bases empty and 2 outs, and Valade gets the single to start things off and then comes around to score on the extra base hit from Andy Ibanez. And that was when I had to do the tip of the cap to A.J. Hinch for having the right lineup. And even though Riley Greens has been as good as he has, he deserved the day off. on top of the lefty on lefty matchup, and same with Colt Keith. And you know what? The offense came through. 7 more runs back to that 6th inning. You had the big hit from Jake Rogers, the grand slam. You love to see it. How about that, sports fans? And the best part of that one is right off the bat, you knew it was gone. You got the Dan Dickerson on the call. He's tremendous as always. But for Jake Rogers, it's his 7th home run of the season. Again, it's a grand slam, and that was a part of a big inning for the Tigers. And they kept on going, which, you know, as the Blue Jays came back, because Kenta Maeda was on the mound, that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that in a moment. It's positive thoughts right now, but you knew the Blue Jays would score some runs, and that did make it a 5-0 game. And they only scored 3, but you love the insurance that the Tigers add on and continue to pour it on in that 6th inning. Because we always talk about this team. Sometimes they struggle to get those big innings offensively, and it was there for the taking today, and they took advantage. So after the Vierling single, can't walk, Perez hit by the pitch, then Rogers goes yard for the grand slam, but they kept it going. Javi Baez with the single, Gio Urshela with the single. You got 2 on now. Ibanez singles home another run, his 2nd RBI of the game, scoring Javi Baez. Gio Urshela moves up, and then Justin Henry Malloy walks. So again, you got the bases loaded, and Vierling gets in that ground, or fields into that fielder's choice. That was almost a wild throw from Guerrero when he went from third to home. And then the wild pitch is what scores Ibanez for the 6th run of that inning to make it 7-0 Tigers. So again, this is fun. This is what makes it enjoyable. I love being on the air after a Tigers win. We'll get to your comments on the YouTube in just a moment, but 10 out of their last 12, and 4 straight series wins. Now just 1 game under 500. And I was looking back at the Tigers schedules. I was actually looking back at some of my notes right around July 4th, where you lose 2 of 3 in Minnesota to the Twins. You felt like morale was down then. And then it was the sweep in Cincinnati. That was huge. Obviously, that builds some momentum. You take 3 of 4 from Cleveland. Jake goes on vacation. They take 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. The only game they didn't beat the Dodgers, I was in attendance at Comerica Park. So this is very, very clearly my fault in one of the games that they haven't won of this streak. But lo and behold, this team is playing some really great baseball. You get the All-Star break, you refresh and rejuvenate yourselves a little bit, and come back and have been playing really good in the first 2 games against the Blue Jays on the road, no less. And it has been a lot of fun because, my goodness, as we talk now, with that July 30th trade deadline approaching, it's a totally different perspective looking at this team now compared to the conversations we were having a couple weeks before the All-Star break. So Tigers get the win 7-3. They've taken the first 2 from the Blue Jays and secured their 4th consecutive series win. We'll go for the sweep tomorrow. Let's get to some of those comments. People have been waiting patiently to get in on the action. We begin with Jason Walter, who says, bye, get a bat and arm, and we're talking about playoffs. Yeah, and I was doing a little research on the old interwebs of who might be available. I know the Rays have made it known that they'll be selling at the deadline. There will be some really, that could be some valuable bats. And maybe our old friend Isaac Paredes, who my good buddy Jeff Rieger and I said, what the heck are we doing trading that guy? We got fleeced by the Rays when we traded him for, who was the guy that was too depressed to play baseball? It was Austin Meadows. I think that's who it was. Make sure I'm correct in that. But we got absolutely fleeced in that deal. I think he played like 30 games for us. And I know I shouldn't have said to make light of mental health. That's not what I wanted to do, but you get the idea. Austin Meadows just wasn't a good player for the Tigers when they made that deal with Isaac Paredes. So maybe we could get him back in a Tigers uniform. Isaac Paredes, that is, because he could be of the pieces the Rays are willing to move. There's a couple of guys. The Cardinals could be willing to move some pieces, but a lot can change too between now and that July 30th deadline. So obviously there's a lot of other players that are going to be on the move. I think the MLB trade rumors seem to be a little bit hotter than, or maybe it's just because the Tigers are involved in a part of them, but it feels like there's a little bit more juice there than there's been in years past. Demetrius McNeil, as always, getting in on the comments. Appreciate that. Oh, snap. We are 1 game away from the 500 mark in 10 of the last 12 games. This offense is hotter than ever. Remember, I didn't see this last month. Yeah, we did not see this last month at all. And again, not to reiterate too much and sound like a broken record, but my goodness, it's been a lot of fun. E. Wern reminds me, never question AJ Hinch. Yeah, that's right. I've made that mistake too many times. The guy knows so much baseball. He's just the most brilliant manager of all time. And even when he was yelling at me in Tigers clubhouses, it goes to show you just can't question. You can't question what the master is cooking up with his lineup cards. So Mark Bajote says, good win, not buying their playoff team. And if Baltimore offers Holiday and Mayo, trade Skubal. My reason is Fetter is a guru. Yeah, Chris Fetter deserves a lot of credit, just like we would question the hitting coaches, and rightfully so. I think for a lot of times this lineup deserved to have the hitting coaches and Keith Beauregard and Michael Bradar be questioned, but for as bad as they might have been, Chris Fetter has been an absolute genius. I know of a lot of friends that want to make Chris Fetter the manager of this team, but there we go. Let's continue to take your comments and work through this live edition of Locked On Tigers Postcast. It's another victory for the Tigers, 10 of their last 12. We'll talk about the Reese Olson injury and perhaps, hopefully not a full injury. Hopefully it is just an early exit with shoulder soreness. We'll see what comes about of it and continue to monitor it. I'm sure they're discussing it right now on Tigers Live post-game edition, but you're locked into the Locked On Tigers Postcast. As always, we appreciate you making us your destination post-game. We're always here to chop it up with you and continue to discuss this team from every single angle. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk about that timely hitting and the Reese Olson shoulder soreness and this series win. Don't go anywhere. Locked On Tigers Postcast. We'll be back in just a moment. This episode of Locked On Tigers Postcast is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. We all know summer travel is not just heating up, because it has. It already has heated up, and especially travel for baseball games. It's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. And we're talking about your rival cities, and with hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might find your perfect stay even in your rival city. This is a great time to talk about Booking.com because the Tigers are in Toronto, which is an awesome city to visit. I remember some of my best memories as a kid were a Tigers road trip to see them play against the Blue Jays, and the Rogers Center. It's a cool spot as long as the roof is open. I think we can all agree the roof needs to be open at the Rogers Center. You got the hotel looking into the field. Toronto's a great city, and you can make those memories happen by using Booking.com and Booking.yeah. The Tigers have lots of road trips throughout the season that you can start to get on your calendar. I know my grandparents are flying out west when they visit the Giants. They'll be at those games. I believe they go to Oakland as well. So maybe you want to make a West Coast road trip. Make sure you use Booking.com, Booking.yeah, because let me tell you, they've got hotels that overlook stadiums, family-friendly resorts. Booking.com has so many choices from the U.S. for your summer travels this MLB season. Remember, the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or using the Booking.com app. Today's episode of Locked On Tigers Postcast is also brought to you by Prize Picks. The most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports is Prize Picks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. For a reason, there's over 5 million active members, and you can get in on the daily action with all your friends and become a part of the Prize Pick community. Right now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. You might be saying, Jake, how do you play? Well, don't worry. You don't need a pen and paper for this. It's real simple. You pick more or less on of 2 to 6 players, stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. So, for example, today, you hopefully picked more on Jake Rogers' runs batted in because my guy had a grand slam. That's how fun and easy it is to play. Add a little sizzle to your viewing experience. And you know what? Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country. And if you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week. We're talking lowering select player stat projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or even getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Friday. So how about that? Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for your first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB and Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. You pick more, you pick less. It's that easy. All right, appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, let's talk a little Tigers rotation because Reese Olson goes out with the shoulder soreness. Now, we'll continue to monitor this situation. If you're catching the audio-only version after the live edition, maybe something new has come out about Reese Olson, but exits after just 30 pitches with the shoulder soreness. But in 2 innings of work, he allowed just 1 hit. He had 2 double plays, did walk 2 batters, so didn't necessarily look like himself from the jump. But Alex Faedo came in with the win, pitched 2 innings after Reese Olson was sat down after just 30 pitches. Faedo was really, really good. Kenta Maeda, I guess, based on Kenta Maeda expectations or, what we know who he is at this point, he goes 2 innings and allowed 3 hits, 3 earned runs, and struck out a batter, gave up the 1 home run. So maybe we just take that because then Tyler Holton came in. He was really good. And Shelby Miller closed the door in the 9th. Both of them went combined 3 innings scoreless, just 1 hit allowed by Holton. Shelby Miller did not allow a hit. So what does this Tigers rotation look like if Reese Olson has to miss some extended time? Let's hope that's not the case. And again, something could have come out if you're catching this later on. And, it's all speculation at this point because we don't know exactly what the severity of the injury was. We just know he had to leave today's game. So if Reese, let's work on that. Apologies. If Reese Olson is injured, it's probably going to be Ty Madden as someone that will be called up from AAA Toledo to make his next start. It won't be Matt Manning probably because I think this team has perhaps given up on Matt Manning. And so that makes it, in my opinion, a little bit disheartening. If it's not Matt Manning, I think we can say the book is getting very, very close to being closed on the Matt Manning. And you're looking at a first-round pick that just didn't really materialize into the player that you had hoped to be. Brian Sammons is another name potentially to be called up from AAA Toledo if Reese Olson has to miss some time. And as I believe someone said in the comments, maybe it is time to, in fact, make a deal for not just a bat, but also add another arm and load up for this Tigers team to make a run to get into the postseason. And I've said this before, and I think this is important if you take nothing else from today's show. My belief in this team from the very beginning has been if there were a few more assets offensively that, we could start talking about this as a playoff contending team. Now, we all know that Chris Ilitch and Scott Harris collectively didn't feel the need to add any bats in the offseason, and maybe that's crying over spilled milk, but I'm still upset about the fact that this continues to be a bottom payroll team run like a low budget, low market team with no desire to improve. And there were bats to be had in the offseason. You could have gotten JD Martinez for nothing, Matt Chapman for nothing. And I know I say this if you watch this show repeatedly, and I appreciate everybody that are regulars and do watch the show over and over. And I apologize that it sounds like a broken record at this point. But that being said, you've got to at least acknowledge the fact that this season could go down as a missed opportunity for me, because now if you do decide to bring somebody in, which I wouldn't poo-poo the idea of being buyers at the deadline based on the last 12 games, 10-2, 4 straight series wins against the Dodgers, against the Guardians, and so on and so forth. They are doing enough at the right time to be considered a team that could potentially be buyers at the deadline. Now, that said, if you do end up making a deal, it's just the way trades work. You have to give up somebody, and you could have gotten JD Martinez and Matt Chapman for nobody. So that's, again, I gotta let it go, because here we are, Saturday, July 20th. That is way far in the rearview mirror. And let's look at what the reality of the situation is right now. And if the Tigers continue to claw back to 500 and they're in the conversation for the wild card, I could see them adding pieces. And I know there was people in the comments saying, no, we still need to trade Skubal, load up the farm system. I think at this point, because of what's happened, I would listen to that sentiment 3 weeks ago, but it is a whole new season based on what the Tigers have done in the last 2 weeks. And I think that's just the way you have to play this as you get closer and closer to that trade deadline. But we got a ton of comments coming in. I apologize, guys. I haven't been able to get to the comments as much as I'd hoped, because self-producing, keeping the ad straight, talking ball, there's a lot going on, a lot of multitasking here, but looks like the comments are really, really active, which we appreciate. Mark and I agree on this sentiment. Mark, well said, Maeda is trash. Yeah, you're just not a serious baseball team if you trot Kenta Maeda out. And I don't care if it's in low leverage, middle relief situations. You just can't have a guy that soft serves meatballs over the middle of the plate that get jacked for home runs. That's just the way you have to. You're not a serious team. You're not serious about winning if you continue to trot him out. All right, we got one more segment coming up. We will look ahead to the series finale tomorrow at the Rogers Center in Toronto and continue to break this one down. Don't go anywhere. Locked On Tigers postcast continues in just a moment. Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by Supply House and supplyhouse.com. That's right. Having the right pro can make all the difference. And let me tell you about Supply House and supplyhouse.com. They would fit that mold because they are simply the best. That's right. Supplyhouse.com is where you can get supplies from the site that's made from the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website, it's packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. That's what every pro wants to do. Get the job done right. You can shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, don't worry. You can get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business. And this is my favorite part. You talk to a real person every time. And those automated recording systems that everybody hates that makes you throw your phone out the window. No, friendly folks, the friendliest folks in the business, and a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free trade master program. Every trade master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Locked On Tigers postcast is also brought to you by America's #1 sportsbook. That's right, FanDuel and FanDuel.com. Go there right now and start betting the Tigers money line. This team is so hot, they're not going to lose anymore. That's right, they might go the rest of the season undefeated. No, the ad read doesn't really say that. So that said, I'll tell you this about FanDuel. They are America's #1 sportsbook and the one-stop destination for all your sports betting. It's legal in the state of Michigan, which we love. And you know what else I love? I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as this time in the calendar, sometimes people say, yeah, the sports are slowing down. Well, guess what? The sports are still sportsing. FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open up your FanDuel app and dream up bets, parlays, everything in between, anytime. Overs, unders, you name it. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. Boost daily. We love that. And that's for all customers, for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com. Start making the most of your young summer. And that's right. Get after it. FanDuel.com. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, we wrap it up with this conversation about what this team is all about. And right now, I think this team is on the brink of really breaking through and all of a sudden contending for that wild card. Now, after the win today, we'll see what Boston does and some of the other teams that the Tigers are chasing. But in this point in the calendar, you start to play some of your best baseball. You start to stockpile those series wins. You start to gain more and more confidence, and you convince, and I say the word convince because I kind of feel like that's what this Tigers team has done in the last 2 weeks, that you convince Scott Harris, you convince the organization, and maybe convince Chris Ilitch to, I don't want to say open up the pocketbooks because we were talking trades here on July 30th, but you convince this organization that you're for real and that you need to buy at the trade deadline, make some moves, put this team in contention to make a run at a wild card spot and start playing meaningful baseball down the stretch in the month of September, something we have not seen from the Old English D in way too long. And I was talking to my brother at one point during the game. He called me and said, the Tigers, are they buyers? Let me know. And I love talking Tiger baseball with my younger brother because we both have that. It's almost like we try to be the bad cop for each other. Like, whoa, don't get too excited. This is just a couple, this is just a hot streak. Don't get too excited. Yeah, but I want to get too excited. And so as you have those conversations, I think it does get closer and closer to thinking this team can, in fact, make a run. I've said this before, too, that you get in with Reese Olson going out today with the shoulder soreness, that provides a whole different, a whole new wrinkle, a whole nother layer that, as more information comes out about that injury, we'll start to understand. But you have three starting pitchers that can just absolutely silence the opposing offense. That's how you win in the playoffs. And they go 7 innings, and you just find ways to manufacture 1 to 2 runs, 3 runs, whatever it is, and win those close games. And the Tigers have proved that they can do that. And so maybe this is a team that you start getting excited about for the postseason. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, but hey, it's fun to talk about because when your team goes out and wins 10 of 12, takes a series from the AL Central leading Guardians, takes a series from the LA Dodgers, takes care of business against the Blue Jays, we can start to have these conversations. So they go for a sweep tomorrow, which is really, really exciting because, again, 10 out of their last 12. It would be really neat to see the Tigers complete the sweep and just continue to feel really, really good about what this team can offer. Cater Montero will get the start tomorrow, another young arm that is past Matt Manning because that's where we're at. Cater Montero 1-2 on the season, 5.47 ERA. Kevin Gausman for the Blue Jays. This one is a 1:37 start time, so a little bit later on your Sunday afternoon. So, hey, watch some Open Championship golf in the morning, have some nice warm, hot coffee on a Sunday morning, watch the Open Championship, then flip over to Tigers baseball. I know that will be my plan if anybody was wondering, but appreciate everybody tuning in as always. That's right. I love this comment from YouTube user. We'll close with this one. You and your brother are probably the reason the word fan comes from fanatics. Yeah, that is very, very good. That's a great point. And Mark says, do you honestly believe they're buyers? I believe in my head they can be buyers. I don't know if I believe that in Scott Harris's mind, or Chris Ilitch's mind, they're buyers, and that's ultimately whose mind matters. But hey, Chris Ilitch was at the game. He was in Toronto, and as Tony Paul, one of my good buddies, who covers the Tigers for the Detroit News, I believe it's Detroit News, don't quote me on that, but Tony Paul, TP, great guy, pointed out that Ilitch just seems to go to the away games. He doesn't want to go to Comerica Park for whatever reason. All right. Appreciate everybody tuning in as always, and farewell to Ewern. Bye, Jake. Thanks. No, thank you for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This is always fun when the Tigers win. If you haven't yet, subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit on the YouTube. And go ahead and do me a favor, give me a follow on Twitter as well, at Jake_Reitma. I'm always tweeting about the Tigers. And let's keep it going tomorrow with a series sweep. That would be a lot of fun now, wouldn't it? All right. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday afternoon, and we'll talk to you tomorrow on Locked On Tigers Postcast.